Hello, welcome to Look Like a Student, Act Like a Boss, social media focus. Tonight we're going to be hearing from 3 alumni speakers, James, Eric, and Allie. They are all going to be speaking about 3 different topics: Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn profiles. We'll have each one come up and introduce themselves and then start their presentation.
So, welcome, those of you who just came. My name is Eric Patnoudes. I'm an instructional technologist at Joliet Township High School. What I do is I provide professional development for the teachers in our district to help them integrate technology into their classrooms. We recently became a one-to-one district, so this year we distributed 1,600 laptops to our students, and within 3 years we'll have 6,000 kids with the device. A lot of teachers didn't get the appropriate training needed to integrate technology in their classes, so I'm going to talk a little bit about Twitter. Twitter, in a nutshell then, since you guys know what Twitter is, or you're familiar with it? Right, you're familiar with the concept, right? So, just so you know, I am on Twitter, so if you want to follow me, then I put a link to the Prezi that I made for this presentation, and you can have access to all the information that's on here. I'm not going to go over all of this, but it's just kind of like best practices for using Twitter, if you will. It talks about like when to tweet, how often to tweet, when are people usually retweeting the most tweets, those kind of things. So you can look through this on your own. The things that I want to talk about mostly are on the outside of this picture. So one key thing to keep in mind with Twitter is that you want to start tweeting about professional topics, okay? So depending on how you used Twitter in the past, you may want to consider creating a new Twitter account that's has more of a professional focus, or depending on what you've tweeted in the past, maybe you can just kind of twist your approach a little bit so that you're tweeting about more professional topics. So you want to try to keep your topics educational, news-related, current events, and slightly personal, not too personal. Try to leave out things like religion, politics, any type of controversial issues. You want to stay away from tweeting about that kind of stuff, especially if you're using Twitter for more of a professional purpose. And then something to think about is that although you can delete your tweets, they are there and people can find them. So don't think that just because you post something and you regret it, and you delete it, that it's going to be gone forever. So your online bio, so for those of you who are not on Twitter, so here's what a bio looks like. This is my Twitter page. This one, think of your bio as like the first time somebody's going to meet you. You're not meeting them in person, but this is the first impression. If this is the first time they ever come across your profile, come across your picture, read anything about you, this is the very first thing that they're going to read. So you can almost consider this as like a digital handshake, if you will, right? The first time you meet somebody, you want to shake their hand, make eye contact, make a good impression, right? So this is kind of the digital handshake. So be thoughtful in what you put here for your profile. Again, especially if you're doing it for a professional purpose. A couple of things to consider. So you want to try to include a professional picture if you have one. Use one that is close enough that people can actually see your face, so that if you meet them somewhere and they go to your Twitter profile, then they'll recognize you. If you use a picture that's not close enough, it'll be hard to recognize who you are. Try to use your Twitter name as close as possible to your real name. That'll make it easier for people to find you. Something else that you can do is like what some people create is like a personal blog or a personal website. And what they'll do is if you have a real common name like John Smith or something along those lines, they'll make their Twitter name their website that they created. So then you're giving people access to both. And another thing to consider is in your profile you can put a link to a website. So this link will take people to my instructional technology blog for the district, but you could put your link to your personal website in there. You can put your link to your LinkedIn profile. It's just another way for people to find out more information about you than just this little Twitter profile. Let's see what else. So there's a really cool website called WeFollow. There's another one called Twello. I've never used that one before. But what you can do is you can find industry leaders on Twitter to follow. So if people are going to be looking at your profile, there's a good chance that they're going to look at who you're following, because that in some ways will tell them a little something about you. So I'll take you to this website real quick. So WeFollow, it's a way to find people who are like industry leaders in whatever industry that you're going into. So if you're going into the business field, you can search for business, and then they have a prominence score. So the score is the objective measure of someone's prominence in a particular interest, okay? So not surprising that Bill Gates is at the top of this list, right? He's a pretty successful business guy. So the thing that's cool about this is a lot of these people that show up, they have a link to follow them directly on Twitter. So any one of these, you click on this, their Twitter name, and then you'll start following them on Twitter. So a good way to find people who will make it look good if you're following them, but then also you're following these people who are industry leaders in your field, so you're hopefully learning from them at the same time by following or reading the tweets that they're putting out there. So be selective in who you follow. It's not necessarily good that you follow like everybody under the sun. It's going to make it a lot harder to actually learn anything by going through Twitter, going through tweets. If you're following 1,000 people, you're going to get so much random stuff that it makes it hard to find the good tweets. So if you're more selective and only following really good people, really respected people in your field, you get a lot more out of it. And try not to add more than 5 or 10 people at a time. When you add them into your feed, again, it just really muddies the water on who you're trying to follow, who you're trying to get the most out of. So something else to consider, think about what trending topics are going on in the world that are related to your field. Is anyone not familiar with the idea of hashtags? Everyone's pretty cool with that, right? So use hashtags when you're tweeting. Use hashtags to find information that you're looking for. Also consider participating in Twitter chats. Has anyone ever participated in a Twitter chat? So Twitter chats, what those are is you can look online for different kinds of Twitter chats. So there's one education related that I follow and participate in from time to time. You can do a search for popular Twitter chats, and they'll say educational technology, whatever the hash, or this ed chat. It meets like every Wednesday night from 7 to 8 o'clock, and there will be a facilitator of that chat, and they'll post like a discussion question or some type of topic, and then everyone just starts chiming in with either their questions or their comments based around the discussion topic that the facilitator started. And you can find Twitter chats on just about everything under the sun. And if you look them up online, they'll have the date and the time that those Twitter chats usually take place. So it's really a cool way to connect with people live rather than just reading the stuff that they're tweeting. So Twitter chats are cool, and direct messaging is always a good thing if you have established a connection with somebody. So last week I went to the Midwest Education Technology Conference, And that was by far the best experience I've ever had with Twitter, because you'd meet somebody who was attending a session with you, and then you had a lot of like-minded ideas about things, and hey, are you on Twitter? Yeah, okay, hook up, let's hook up on Twitter. And then you message the person later in the day and find out that, oh, like they work in a school district that's not far away from mine, or they happen to know somebody in the same field that I'm working in, or possibly they're interested in, I even met a person who's interested in starting a blog about a specific topic in educational technology and asked me if I wanted to be a co-author with them. So direct messages are a nice way to send more personal information that not everyone's going to see, but you can still connect with those people on Twitter. And don't be shy. Respond to posts and ask questions. When somebody that you're following posts some good content, don't be afraid to respond to the comment or even ask them a question to elaborate on what they meant. Because Twitter has, a limited amount of characters, sometimes people can't always elaborate on what they're trying to say. So respond to it, ask them a question, and then maybe you can have a conversation in that direct message avenue. So those were the key points about Twitter that I wanted to touch on. One last thing that I did want to show is anyone use TweetDeck or Hootsuite or anything like that? You do? Okay. So I'll show you what that is really quick. So especially for the younger generation, like you guys use Twitter, you use Facebook, you use Instagram, right? So what you can do is, it's a way to put all of your social media accounts on one central location. So, so here's my Twitter account. So here's my home feed, my mentions, my direct messages, everything that you would typically see in your Twitter account. You can get all that information here. You can add your Facebook profile on here, so you get your news feed, any direct messages, anytime that somebody's like following you, like those kinds of things. So I've used mine a little bit differently because I just use mine for professional reasons. But you can also put Google Plus on here. Any social media that you participate in, you can add your account here. And then the thing that's really cool about it is, so up here you'll see, this is a group that I belong to on LinkedIn. It's the International Society for Technology and Education. You see all the discussions that are taking place in the group. And then if I want to post something, I can type in my post right here, and on the right hand side I can select which one of my social media accounts I want the message to go to, or I can post to all of them. Say I have this really profound idea or thought of the day that I want to share, I can put it on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Google+, all in one click. So it's really a nice way to be able to take full advantage of social media, especially if you're just graduating college and you're trying to use it for professional reasons. It's a great way to get your name out there and get positive things out there about yourself on the internet. And one other part that I think is really cool is, so it has a URL shortener. Has anyone ever messed with URL shorteners? So like sometimes you'll get like a really long link to like a video or an article or something like that. So for example, if I wanted to take my LinkedIn profile link and come to Hootsuite, and it has a URL shortener built in. So it takes that long link and it makes it like half the size that it was. Sometimes you'll even find links that are like 5 or 6 lines long, and that you would never be able to even tweet anything because it would take up all 140 characters. So it has this built-in URL shortener, which is really nice. And then you can go ahead and type in your comment. Again, come over here, pick which ones you want to add it to, and then boom, it sends out the message to all your social media accounts. So really a pretty cool thing. TweetDeck is another one. Hootsuite's just the one that I happen to use. They kind of all have the same functionality.
Just one on that last one, the Hootsuite. Can other people look at you as a whole in there, or do they have to look at all your individual accounts?
They would have to look at all of your individual accounts. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. This is really just more like something for you to manage all your social media. Yeah. But they can, I mean, it has the same functionality as Twitter. Like, if I wanted to look for somebody, I can look up somebody on here. I can message them directly from here. I can put in hashtags, I can, all the same functionality of social media you have in here as you would if you're on the individual site. It just makes it a lot easier than, all right, I'm going to post this on Facebook, now I'm going to go post the same thing on Twitter because I have followers in both that would be interested in this comment. You just do it one time.